So that's one thing, like with Tony, is it feels like he's like as much as he's a very successful guy, very wealthy guy. It feels like when he's running AEW, he runs like he's like a fan first, which I think is a very cool approach to like wrestling, because we've always seen like certain people where we're like, man, I wish that guy would get over, or that guy would get opportunity. And I feel like Tony's the guy who's on Twitter like, I wish that guy would get an opportunity. I wish but he's running the company.
Yeah.
What is like what do you think are the misconceptions about Tony Khan, and like what are some things that like you've already kind of learned just being so close to somebody like that who's a powerful guy, you know?
He's a guy that likes good wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, he's literally like, as far as like what he likes, he's one of the fans. And when it comes to that, he just likes to see good wrestling. And that's what All Elite Wrestling's mainly about. Like, how you went over the fan base is like, you gotta do it in the ring. Like, there's certain guys and certain people, certain acts and certain performers, they get opportunities to do it in other different ways, and that's great. But like, ultimately, it's a wrestling company. It's literally like, primarily, we like have the best wrestling, and to be the top of that card, be the top of the company, you got to perform. And in the time when All Elite Wrestling started, that was kind of deprived on national television.
Oh, for sure.
For a while.
It was definitely a dark era over at the other spot.
And but they've always had great talent, though.
For sure.
You know, it was just like the product was primarily something what they wanted to present, something that was sports entertainment. Right. That's what they built the bread and butter from.
Right.
You know, that's what they do, and like nobody does it better than them. We wanted to build our narrative, our alternative to what's unique to us and what the fan base was missing at the time, and what the industry needed. And it was just like, we need an alternative. We need some place where even people that were over there that really wanted to break out and just deliver the type of wrestling they wanted to do, not the type of wrestling that they want to show, the type of wrestling they wanted to do, show their art. And All Elite Wrestling gave them that. And you've seen Moxley come over, you know, like, showing his rejuvenation in the wrestling business. Ryan Danielson rejuvenated. Adam Cole rejuvenated. Myself rejuvenated, and letting the creators and the artists create and be art. Christian, like showing like another like, man, he can run with this thing another 5-10 years if he wanted to. You know,
just a hell of a heel. He always was such a good heel too.
Right.
It's
but also AEW allowed him to like really push the boundaries on the material as well. You know, like there's certain like
certain stuff that you guys will do.
Yeah. Even the source material, like you can't say certain things like talking about dead fathers and stuff. Like there's certain ways you can't like really go in a WWE with AEW.
Right.
Tony really he gets a kick out of like pushing the boundaries a little bit more on national television. And, you know, that's where competition always really stemmed from in pro wrestling.
I was going to ask you, like, when you get over there, right? Because, you know, it's so hard. I love watching wrestling. I'm not going to, I have a surface level understanding of what's going on with AEW at all times. But like I told you before the start, like it's harder for me to watch it because I don't have cable and shit. But I love wrestling. I watch every pay-per-view. I try to go to at least 3 or 4 a year. Could you kind of like give me an idea of what it's like? Like you get to AEW, what are the things that, you know, you feel like, okay, I have to do this, or this to start to make the fans give a fuck about me? Because to me, that's the hardest thing, is like, there's so many guys that are really good at wrestling, and they can put on great matches. They can take great bumps. They can make guys look good. But it's like the X factor is like, how do you get the people to give a fuck about you like that? Because that's where this comes into play. That's you know what I mean. And to me, that like you said, you didn't have time to even figure that out really with WWE. So like, what were the things that you were able to kind of like conscientiously do to kind of like make people really give a fuck?
For me, it was always about like what lane isn't being taken up. For me, that's where I first start thinking.
Smart.
I look at, I observe the landscape of like everything. I start with my home base, which was All Elite Wrestling. I look at the roster, male, female, managers, groups, factions, management, managers. I look everywhere. Then I look at the archetypes. What archetypes are being taken up? You know, is there the jocks? There's the the artists. Then there's the dark characters of the House of Black. Okay, so you look at all of these type of things. I'm like, okay. And then it's like, where do I fit in with these things? And then also like, what's something unique about myself that I know, that I truly know about myself, that I can really portray and display to the world in my way.
Right.
Where's my voice? It's like, look at this. Like, it's almost the music industry. Look at all these albums. I'm like, all these albums that you see right here tell different stories. They have different archetypes. They have different looks.
Right.
It's like, how does a speaker box stand out to a Ready to Die from Biggie? How does a college dropout with Kanye West stand toe to toe with a Carter 3 with Wayne?
Right.
You know, how does a Chronic with the Dog Pound and like all these things? So you're just looking at like, where can I get in, where I fit in, figure it out. Then of course it's AEW. It has to be proven in the ring.
You got to go out there and wrestle your ass off.
You got to prove it in the ring. You got to prove it in the ring. Promos are amazing, and I would say it's 60-40.
Wrestling to promo or promo to wrestling?
Wrestling to promo. 60% in the ring, 40%. Another place is like more, maybe flip the other way, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like,
for sure.
But
hell, there's been guys that's been 90-10 promo to wrestling.
and they've had long, illustrious careers.
Some of them haven't.
Yeah. Some people and there's very few people that can do that. Like even at MJF, he's like heavy promo. But at the end of the day, he goes out there and he proves it in the ring, and he wrestles his ass off and he shows out. You know, so
that guy got a hell of a tan when he was away. By the way.
Oh yeah, brutal.
He came out, said he looks like he came straight from Cancun.
Yeah, oh yeah, probably was. You know, like all that rest, man.
Yeah,
but he was also working. His body shows it. You know, he looks great. Sure. But so then you also got to find out once again. You start all over again in the ring. Where do I fit in? What lane is being taken up? The luchadors. They're killing it. Right. Like you can't. It's very hard to compete with like a Vikingo, a Phoenix.
You're not going to out luchador the luchadors.
You can't out luchador the luchadors. Then just like the grappling and the Greco-Roman style. It's like, well, Bryan Danielson's is the best in the world at that. You know, so then you just kind of like narrow it down. So it's just for me, it's just like something that's really. I like film. I'm a big fan of like film and horror. Right. So I was like, horror mixed with a hip hop mogul. That's two different genres, but if I bleed these together, I can kind of create something very unique and
something that's never been done.
Maybe. Like,
I don't remember that ever.
But just for that sake, it was just like it's so far fetched, and like if you say it out there, it's like you say it out loud. It's like that doesn't make sense. How do you make that happen? It's like okay, take like a Snoop Dogg Bones.
Shout out to Bones, man.
Yeah.
Shit, that showed us how great of an actor Snoop wasn't.
Yeah. but
true.
But it fits. And then I'll take like I'm a Wesley Snipes fan. Then there's like a New Jack City, a Blade, a Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. Yeah.
So there's all these like little elements. I'm like these are images that I like. That I
almost
think
like you're putting your mood board together, kind of.
It's in a sense, but it's just I never put anything on. paper.
but like mentally, you're like It's
just like that's what's going on in my head. I'm just throwing all these things out there.
And you're also like you also do hip hop like in real life.
Right. So I'm like, how do I be like? And I know like the Acclaimed had like the hip hop, the rapping thing going on. So I was like, okay, how do I do? I'm still hip hop, but I don't want to clash.
You don't want to be there. Yeah.
I want to be something business sense. So I was a mogul, kind of doing a lot of things as is, like acting and podcasting and music and and music videos. I direct them all my music videos, producing and all that stuff. So like that's kind of a mogul thing. So I just came up with mogul to feel like just something bigger than just rapping.